Good morning, dear students. Welcome to Kaylee's online classes. Let us continuation our discussion on unit number 2, Industrial Economics. In previous classes, we completed 1948, 1956, 1970, 73 and 1977 industrial resolution policies introduced by Government of India to development of industrial sector. And today we are moving to next industrial resolution policy of 1991. It is very important for Indian economic development also and industrial sector development also. So we also called new economic reforms 1991 or liberalization, privatization and globalization 1991, and one more, new economic policy 1991. So in the long awaited liberalized industrial policy was announced by the Government of India in the year of 1991, in the midst of severe economic instability in the country. See, in the decade of 1980 to 1990, India was facing a severe economical crisis. That purposes Government of India was introduced new economic policy in 1991. The main objectives of 1991 policies are improving efficiency of industrial sector and accelerate economic growth and development. These three objective purposes Government of India was introduced in 1991 policy in the year of 1991. With two broad objectives to achieve. The first objective is the efficiency of development, improving efficiency of industrial development, and another one is accelerate economic growth and development in the country purposes. This policy was introduced, and even though Government of India was agreed whatever conditions imposed by World Bank and International Monetary Fund in the midst of 1980 to 1990, the severe decade of India's, the government was borrowing $200 million money from World Bank and International Monetary Fund to agreeing whatever conditions imposed by IMF and WTO, IMF and World Bank. Those conditions we called new economic reforms. Those conditions are nothing but your economy should be liberalization and your economy should be privatization and should be make globalization to the world. The three conditions were imposed by World Bank and IMF in the year of 1990. In this policy was introduced by at the time our finance minister of India was Manmohan Singh and Prime Minister of India was P.V. Narasimha Rao. Both together they were introduced 1991 policy. See, the features of new industrial policies are broadly classified into three categories. The first one is liberalization of economy, privatization of economy and globalization of economy. Liberalization reforms. Liberalization is nothing but removal of all rules and restrictions on industrial sector is called liberalization. See, the Government of India since 1947 to 1991 introduced various restrictive policies on industrial sector. That restrictions and rules were removed by 1991 policy. We called it liberalization. Liberalization is nothing but removal of all rules and restrictions on industrial sector is called liberalization. In liberalization, what are the reforms? Was taken by government of India. The first reform is deregulation of industries. See, the dereservation of public sector or deregulation of industries. See, the earlier exclusively reserved for public sector. See, in 1947 to 1991, so each and every industries were run by government of India. We called public sector enterprises. However, preeminent place of public sector in present only 5 core areas like arms and ammunition, atomic energy and mineral oils and rail transport and mining was continued to run by government of India. The remaining industries are open to privatization. See, the 1947 to 1991, so all industries were run by public sector enterprises. That public sector enterprises, see, only 5 core industries were run by present government of India, and remaining industries went to private sector. See, only 5 industries run by government, and remaining all industries run by private sector in the country. That is a deregulation of dereservation of public sector or deregulation of industries. Then the presently only 2 sectors, atomic energy and railway operations, are reserved exclusively for the public sector only. See, the atomic energy and railway operations only run by government of India. The present situation of India, the railway department and atomic energy, only 2 industries are undertaken by government of India. The remaining all industries went to private sector. So private sector run successfully in our country. And second one is tax reforms. See, the 1991 onwards till today 2020, direct taxes and indirect taxes has been reducing by the government of India because of the minimum level of tax rebates and minimum of tax layers will be helpful to public, and public are not escaping from the tax. That purposes government of India is reducing personal income tax, corporate tax, direct taxes and indirect taxes also. So this purpose the revenue has been generating more compared to 1947 to 1990, and recently government of India was introduced GST, goods and service tax also. The goods and service tax, the main purpose generating revenue to the government, and the smooth and sensitive run by tax rebates. This purposes government of India was introduced in the year of 2017, GST also. Then the financial sector reforms. Financial sector reforms like commercial banks, agriculture bank, industrial banks, IDBI, mutual funds, share markets, all such a type of financial sectors are run by the Reserve Bank of India. In before 1991, each and every financial sectors were following rules and regulations of Reserve Bank of India. So after 1991 onwards, even banking sector also get liberalization to expansion of their branches, branches also, and determination of rate of interest on various types of loans also. See, the even financial sector is also liberalization. Then the foreign exchange reserves. Foreign exchange reserves before 1991, severe conditions faced by government of India to collection of foreign exchange reserve. 1991 onwards, the foreign exchange reserves has been progressively increasing. like so special drawing rights, so foreign currencies, gold also earning so with stable. Then trade reforms in the form of government of India will be controlling international trade through two powerful weapons of tariff and quota. Tariff is nothing but the government of India is levying tax on importable and exportable goods and services, also reduced and encouraging export and discouraging import and make balance of payment equal. So then the even quota system also, see the restrictive quota removed by government of India, see, and tariff rate also reducing, see, therefore our foreign trade also tremendous change by 1991 so policy. Then the investment reforms, see the investment sector, it means investment, government is always approaching the red carpet for abroad investors. See, the present our foreign direct investment and foreign institutional investment has been increasing simultaneously. The present all sectors are free from foreign direct investment. The present so out of 100% is foreign direct investment in all sectors. So except only 3 or 2 sectors. The present foreign direct investment so increased by present government 51% to 75%. Also, see, abroad investors they are willing to invest in their money in India to manufacturing activities. Then the privatization. See, in privatization is nothing but transforming ownership and management by the government to private individuals. Private sector is called privatization. So privatization is very important for economical development as well as industrial development also. Because of in public sector enterprises, lack of efficiency of the labor, lack of willingness and corruption, and lack of profit, and totally sickness of public sector enterprises purposes, the World Bank and IMF were imposed conditions. You should be privatization your economy. See, 1991 onwards, government of India so was introduced privatization reforms. The privatization is nothing but the withdrawal of ownership so by the government to private sector. See, the 1947 to 1990 whatever industries were run by the government of India, present ownership and management withdrawal by the government to private sector is one other. And another way is see sale of public sector. Sale of public sector enterprises to private sector enterprises is called privatization. Otherwise, we call it disinvestment. Disinvestment is nothing but the government will be retaken their investment is called disinvestment. Also, see the present government of India so has achieved tremendous so changes in disinvestment. The present almost all industries were privatization. See, privatization is very important for economical improvement and development and industrial sector development also. Therefore, government of India is always a willingness to privatization all sectors. So then the globalization. See, the globalization is nothing but open our economy with world economy. Open up our economy with world economy is called globalization. Because of the present condition of world economy and all respected economies conditions are very competitiveness. All countries mantra is development and growth. So to achieve growth and development purposes, all economies, the present, all are open their economies with world economy and so exchanging goods to goods, exchanging so goods by goods and exchanging individuals, labors by labors and exchanging skills, exchanging services purposes. So globalization is very important. In globalization, so there are mainly important concept is outsourcing. Outsourcing is nothing but the hiring employees or laborers by the developed nation from developing nations. Developing nations, especially I told you, developing nations are labor orientation nations. The abundant level of human resource is available, but developing nations are unable to utilization of available human resources. But developed nations are hiring skillful laborers for fulfilling their needs. For example, music editing, data collection, music editing, and the services like so such a type of services purposes and BPO, business process outsourcing, and business process outsourcing, and call centers, international call centers, data analysis, data exchanging, and data collection, and music editing, and various services are taken by the developed countries from the developing nations employers or laborers. Because of in a developing nations laborers are offering so very cheap rate of wages, and so it is very reasonable for developed nation also. Therefore, in developing nations also depend upon developed nations companies and industries for getting employment. So like in a WTO also, World Trade Organization, the World Trade Organization so was formulation January 1st, 1995. So before GATT, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. So it was formed in 1944. See, the GATT was changed WTO. See, the present all countries are member of World Trade Organization. The World Trade Organization is the main aim is development so world development, all countries responsibility of so trade issues and removal of obstacles and removal of class conflict between so the countries and smooth run of so trade so between bilateral trade and multilateral trade. So the totally see the trade watchdog duty done by the World Trade Organization. See, even though the government of India is member of funding GATT also, and member of so funding WTO also, and India is always the following rules and regulations of World Trade Organization, trade with remaining all countries. At present, 193 nations are membership so taken from World Trade Organization. So therefore, the 1991 policy is very important of Indian economic development. So 1991 policy was changed tremendous in gross domestic product of India and per capita income of the India, and development of industrial sector, and development of agriculture sector, and development of service sector also, and limitations of 1991 policy or outcomes of 1991 policy. See, the outcome of 1991 policy. The 1991 made so license permitted quota raj, a thing of first attempted to liberalize the economy, removing bureaucratic hurdles in industrial growth. See, the bureaucratic hurdles removed by 1991 policy for economic growth is one of the so biggest outcome from 1991 policy, and removal license system, and removal tariff and quota also. Then the limited role of public sector enterprises, so burden of the government. See, even the burden of the government removed by 1991 policy, and limited role by the government of India in so industrial sector also so made by 1991 policy. The policy provided the easier entry of multinational companies, privatization, removal asset limit on MRTP companies, liberal licensing. And all this resulted in increased competition among the countries that led to lower prices in many goods and services, electronic prices, and brought domestic as well as foreign investment in almost every sector open to private sector. The present pharmaceutical industry, defense industry, railway industry, banking sector, and insurance sector, all sectors are open with private sector. Private sector also, and private bank also existing, private insurance company also existing, and foreign institutional investment also actively existing here. Then 1991 policy was followed by special efforts to increase exports, like export oriented units, export processing zones, agri export zones, special economic zones, and lately national investment and manufacturing zones emerged. All these have benefited the export sector of the country. See, the 1991 policy was positively approaching the export processing zones in India, and agri-export zones, special economic zones, and national investment and manufacturing zones introduced by Government of India in specific geographical areas. And the limitations of 1991 policy. See, what are the limitations faced by 1991 policy in India? Stagnation of the manufacturing sector. See, industrial policies in India have failed to push manufacturing sector, whose contribution to GDP is strengthened at about 16% since 1991. See, the 1991 policy limitation, the first limitation, so the policy was failure to contribution more to GDP rate. Only in 1991, 16% of contribution made by industrial sector, it is one of the limitation. And see, the pattern owning and selective inflow of investments. See, the liberalization and slow pace of investments in maybe many basic and strategic industries such as engineering, power, machine tools, etc. See, the liberalization, current pace of investment following liberalization, the substantial investment have been flowing into a few industries. There is concern over the slow pace of investments. See, only selected sectors flow of investment come from abroad investors, and remaining sectors are slow growth rate. It is also one of the limitation by 1991 policy. And displacement of laborers and restructuring and modernization of industries as a second to the new industrial policy lead to displacement of laborers because of present modern industries are using advanced technologies. When a technology using more and more, technology will be removal laborers. It is also one of the limitation 1991 policy, and absence of incentives for raising efficiency. See, internal liberalization without adequate emphasis on trade policy reforms resulted. Consumption-led growth rather than investment or export-led growth. See, 1991 onwards also India has been importing more goods and services from other nations, and export value and import value. There was a tremendous imbalance between export value and import value. Also one of the limitation. And then the way forward. See, the industrial policies in India have taken a shift from predominantly socialistic pattern in 1956 to capitalistic since 1991. See, the 1956 to 1991, the pattern of economy is socialist, and 1991 onwards, capitalist economy formed by Government of India. And India now has a much liberalized in industrial policy regime, focusing on increased foreign investment and lesser regulations. See, the foreign rate has been crossed by foreign direct investment and foreign institutional investment, and also so lesser regulations by government on industries also. And India ranked 77th on World Bank Ease of Doing Business Report 2018. Reforms related insolvency resolution, bankruptcy and Insolvency Act 2017 and Goods and Service Tax GST are impressive, will result long-term gains for the industrial sector. See the Ease of Doing Business Report 2018 and Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act 2017 and GST policy were long-term gains for the industrial sector. And campaigns such as Make in India and Startup India have helped to enhance the business ecosystem in the country. However, electricity shortages and high prices, credit constraints, high unit labor costs due to labor regulations, political interference and other regulatory burdens continue to remain challenges of firm growth of the industrial sector in India. And challenges of even challenges also faced by industrial sector with 1991 policy. Such hurdles or challenges are electricity scarcity, means power scarcity and lack of credit facilities, high unit labor costs and labor regulations and labor policies, political interference and regulatory burdens are continuing until today also are the challenges of industrial development in India. So there is a need for a new industrial policy to boost the manufacturing sector in the economy. And government in December 2018 also felt the need to introduce a new industrial policy that would be a roadmap for all business enterprises in the country. Also, Government of India was introduced one more industrial policy of 2018 to removal of challenges and problems in 1991 policy. So anyway, 1991 policy was a tremendous change in the industrial sector development. Let me stop. We shall continuing our discussion with next concept.